Right, let's have a look at the application of the exponential rule that most people struggle with the most. And because of that, I've developed a hack for that. But I'm going to do, if you look carefully, you'll see they're exactly the same problems. I'm going to do it, first of all, using the rule exactly as it says. And then I'm also going to show you in an easier way where you're not breaking any mathematical rules, you're actually just missing out a step, and it's a step that confuses most people. So if you're unfamiliar with this, please go back to the first video on exponents where I explained the exponential rules, and I also explained this one in detail. So if we have a look at this, similar to the previous video that we've just done, we've got a numerator that needs to be simplified and a denominator that needs to be simplified before we can do what this line is saying, which is division. So let's go through this as good revision of the previous episode with everything that we spoke about. So first of all, if we are raising a negative to an odd power, then it's going to remain negative. 4 to the power of 3, or 4 cubed, means 4 times 4 times 4, which is 64. Remember here, I'm raising a power to a power, so the way to spot that is that there's only one base of x. It's not like x squared times x cubed. That's where we're multiplying powers together. This is one power raised to another power. So I keep my variable of x and I say 2 times 3 is 6. And then remember that y has got an exponent of 1. So I'm going to be saying y to the 1 times 3, which is 3. So I have my numerator in a better form without a bracket, and I'm now going to do the same to the denominator. So remember, when you raise a negative to an even power, then it's going to become positive. 2 squared, or 2 to the power of 2, is 4. X to the 4 times 2 is 8. And y to the 2 times 2 is y to the power of 4. All right, so everything's looking pretty good. We're ready to divide a numerator by a denominator. So we're going to go from the sign first of all. Negative divided by positive is negative, which means my overall answer is negative. 4 can go into 64. And if you remember how to work out 4 cubed, you'll be very aware of 4 times 4 is 16, and 16 times 4 is 64. So therefore 64 divided by 4 is 16. Right, and now we're getting to the part where we are going to be dividing powers, and we're looking for ones that have got the same base. So I've got ones with a base of x, and when we divide powers, we subtract the exponents. So 6 minus 8 is negative 2. And then with my powers with a base of y, dividing them, I have to subtract the exponents. So 3 minus 4 is negative 1. But you're not allowed to ever leave an answer with negative exponents. You have to convert them to positive exponents. So this is when you have to be able to apply that rule. So let's look at what this is saying. If I say n to the minus 1, there is no denominator here, so it's implying that n to the minus 1 is in the numerator. If you wanted to, you could always think of n to the minus 1 as n to the minus 1 over 1, because that's what it actually means. So what's happening is it's in the numerator. I then take it to the denominator, and it becomes the same thing, n, but with a positive exponent. So if I look at this now, the negative is going to remain a negative. The 16 is in the numerator, but to make that exponent positive, I have to bring it from the numerator into the denominator. So now I need to create a denominator, and that will be x squared, because as it moves from the numerator to the denominator, it goes from a negative exponent to a positive exponent. This one also needs to move into the denominator, and it will become y to the power of 1, or I can simply just write it as y. So that will be my final answer. So let's have a look at another way of doing it. We're going to start off exactly the same. So my first step, I'm going to just talk through it again just to consolidate it in your mind. A negative divided by a negative raised to an odd exponent is negative. 4 cubed is 64. X to the 2 times 3 is x to the 6. Y to the 1 times 3 is y cubed. Over a negative to an even exponent is positive. 2 squared is 4. X to the 4 times 2 is 8. Y to the 2 times 2 is 4. All right, and it's at this point that you can make your life a lot easier, and we're actually going to miss out this step. So first of all, we deal with the signs and we deal with the coefficients in the normal way. It's only when we get to this section that we're going to change our thinking a little bit. So negative divided by positive is negative. 4 goes into 64, 16 times. Then you look at your exponents that you've got. We're looking at the powers of x, so look for the base of x. Here I've got a 6 exponent and there I've got an 8 exponent. So I'll ask myself, are the x's top or bottom heavy? Well, obviously there's a higher exponent for x at the bottom than at the top. So I know that my answer is going to end up at the bottom. So now I have to create a denominator. It's bottom heavy, so there will be an x at the bottom in the denominator. And then what is the difference between 6 and 8? 2. Look at my y's. Are they top or bottom heavy? They're bottom heavy, so the y is going to end up at the bottom. And then what is the difference between 3 and 4? The difference is 1. I could write y to the power of 1, but we never bother to do that. And if you look, you've got exactly the same answer. You haven't had to go through the trauma, because everybody I teach seems to find this very traumatic. You can go straight to having your positive exponents, which you need to have in your answer.